Welcome to what is this, October? The very end of October. Welcome to the October Meteor Club Q&A session. I invited Arunoda to join me and thought we could answer some questions about Meteor and what people are dealing with, and just generally anything they have questions on. We'll take them. We'll answer them the best we can. I thought this would be a really fun one because I have a feeling in the next couple of days we might see Meteor 1.0, given how the release candidates are coming out now. So, look at that. Stefan Hohaus is here. Hopefully I said that right. All right, so why don't we start with what you do, Arunoda? I'm sure everyone knows, but let's just
Okay.
do it anyway.
So I'm working at Meteor Hacks. I'm running basically I'm running projects, a lot of open source projects, including Meteor app and some of the other class render and like that. And I'm also working with a project called Kadira.io. It's a performance monitoring solution for Meteor. So you just need to plug in a tool, plug a package into your application, and it will show up the other problems in your application. So yeah, I'm working with two other guys, and we are based on Colombo, Sri Lanka. So that's it.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right. And so if people don't know me, I do freelance Meteor work. I also run the Meteor Club. I run Crater. I do the Meteor podcast. Seems like I'm forgetting some stuff. I started doing training classes now. meteor.js.club/learn. If you're interested, it's more of a beginner's class. Walks you through some stuff there. All right. Looks like we got some more people here. So Will Mitchell I met him in person last week. I think I don't know if he's from Raleigh. Maybe he's in Raleigh. Um, Looks like we've got Mike Barkis from Charlotte as well. So welcome, guys. If you have any questions, feel free to just post them in the question app, or I think on the page. I'll kind of be watching the page for updates as well if people have questions, and we'll try to answer them here live. There's going to be a little bit of a lag time, so just to get started, I'm kind of curious, like what's the biggest app you've seen since you're running Kadira? Like what kind of scalable sites, high scale sites have you seen?
Okay, I have seen a couple of apps running more than five uh, 5 to 6 servers. So one app is yeah, let's see. So one app is Workpop. So they are still in a beta, and actually they are running a couple of servers, and Classcraft is something else, another one.
Hmm.
And there's another one from the UK. I don't remember its app's name, and they are kind of like Airbnb for the UK. So there's a guys like that. So let me actually, yeah. Basically, mostly there are only apps with couple of servers, like more to 5 to 6, like I have seen mostly.
Yeah.
But I haven't seen any app with like 20 or running 20 servers, maybe more than 15. I haven't seen.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember a long time ago I worked on the Words with Friends project uh, way back in the day, and it was on Rails, and they had something like 24 app servers, and then they had a bunch of memcache and database servers with read-write slaves, and that was kind of crazy. But it's awesome to hear people are getting to the point where they have 5 or 6 kind of app servers running their infrastructure. I think right now my main contract is Meeting Hero, and I think they're running off 4 app servers right now. So seems about in line with you know what it would take to run
Okay,
production.
Meeting Hero, Meeting Hero is on this. So what's the hosting platform? I mean, AWS or on Modulus or
They're on Amazon Web Services.
okay,
Yeah,
okay, cool.
they're actually on Tom and Zoll run it. They're on what do they call it? It's not Galaxy, but they've got another funny name for it. They've got their own little cloud that they run
Okay,
for
cool.
Percolate clients.
All right.
Yeah. All right. So let me check the chat here and see if we've got any more questions.
I think
Makes me sad. I really. Oh, here we go. I want to know how we can join collections in Meteor. You want to take this one?
yeah, I think I haven't much experience working with the joint collection, but the thing is, there are a lot of solutions out there, but
Mm-hmm.
none of them are complete because actually everyone is having issues. We can't build a real working product. Actually, the reason is ETS protocol and everything. So, so that's the thing. So we need to have something from the meteor core, specifically built for the joint. So we can try hard to model with embedded documents. So but still we need to be cautious about that. So it's not an answer that I can say directly. So you use this package and like that. And there's a good list of discussion happening on the Kadir Hub, and there's a hackpad as well. So I think I can share some of the links.
Okay, sounds good. Yeah, and so my response to that would also be, um, number one, you can just return an array from any publication, and theoretically that's a join. And so I think what most people are asking for when they talk about joins is they want a reactive join, and that's where it gets a little bit tougher.
Yeah,
So what ends up happening is, let's say I do a find and grab I don't know, a meeting, right? And we'll use kind of a meeting hero-esque description here. So I'll grab a meeting, and then I want to grab all the members that are in that meeting, and I want to publish all those members as well that are in the meeting, and then maybe I want to publish the presence of whether they're actually online for that meeting or not. Maybe that's stored somewhere else. And so step one is you do a meeting.find, and you'll find your first meeting, but then you need to inspect that meeting, and then you're going to do like meteor.users.find, and you're going to maybe grab out a bunch of uh, user IDs that were stored in the meeting, right? And so then from there you'll do meteor.users.find, you'll hand it an array, and you'll get back all your meteor users from the collection. And so then you have the meeting, and then you have your users. You return those in an array. Everything's great until you add someone else to the meeting. And what happens is, in the back end, you don't get an update. So that second query where you did meteor.users.find and you gave it an array, Meteor never knows that that array has changed, and therefore it doesn't actually rerun that code. And so you'll never get new user data coming in. So the meeting itself will update, and you'll get that pushed down, but then you'll never get new user records pushed down the pipe properly. And so what you have to do is you'll have like an observed change running on the meeting, and when you see that, you'll have to grab the IDs and you'll have to rerun all that find code in the observed change. And so that's, I mean, it gets pretty complicated, especially when you start joining, more than one collection in. So that's kind of the gist of it. There are plugins out there to help you, or packages, I guess. But I don't know that they're, you got to look at each one and kind of understand what they're doing under the covers and make sure that it fits what you're working on. So, all right. We got another one here. Interested to hear any thoughts that you guys have regarding the best approach for combining Ionic with Meteor. I haven't actually used Ionic. Have you used Ionic at all?
no, I haven't. Ionic. No, I haven't.
All right, so I don't even know what that is. Framework. It's like a competitor to Famous, maybe. Front end framework, hybrid apps, Angular. Yeah, I have no idea. I know. Gosh, there's so many of these popping up now. So you've got, I think you definitely have Famous, and then you have Ionic, and then you've got another one that Google put out too. Starts with a P. Polymer? Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
Um, and I know people are starting to dabble in it, but I really have no idea um, best approach for combining that. I would say find other people that are interested and try to start like a mailing list or something and get conversations going. I don't know. That would be my approach for getting something off the ground. All right. Here's another one from Zafar Ansari. I hope I said that right. MongoDB doesn't support transactions. Is there anything we can do in Meteor to cancel a group DB operation if any of these operations fail?
Uh, no, so I mean, there are no direct ways to do that. So normally MongoDB advise us to do use a one document and use the embedded documents too. So one document update is atomic. So we can have some kind of transaction. But unfortunately, it's not gonna work with Meteor because embedded document is not good as it is. We can use with Mongo. No. And there are some pattern to do like two page two-page commits and like that using the MongoDB, but there is no direct way to do that with Meteor yet. So you need to roll out your own way to do that. And there's a documentation on the MongoDB documentation side, so you can follow that.
Yeah. So I guess you just have to write your own kind of guard around that
Yeah.
submitting to the database and roll it back yourself. Sucks.
I'm not sure. So have you heard about the PeerDB package? I
Yeah, I have heard of PeerDB actually.
I'm not sure. Might be that might have some kind of support for the transaction. I'm not sure. I'm looking at the README. No, no, there is no. Yes, no.
Yeah.
No, seems like.
It does have triggers though. That's interesting. Perhaps.
But it's really hard to do transaction on the multi-server with multiple servers. So the only best way is use the two-phase commits.
Have you used this PeerDB at all?
No.
No. Okay. Yeah, I was kind of curious. So I started looking at this the other day, and I didn't really understand. So is this actually like, do you run an actual separate database server, like a PeerDB database server, or is this just something that sits on top of
Mongo.
Mongo itself?
Yeah, yeah. I think it's a collection of like collection two simple schema and the collection. So it's a combination of couple of packages.
Yeah,
So I
yeah,
I haven't really tried to use that one yet.
that's interesting. Yeah, so yeah, he talks about some related packages here. Trying to look around my mic here at my screen. Actually, I hadn't heard of Meteor related. Oh, there you go. Publish with reactive dependencies on related queries. So Meteor related. It's one of those packages. All right, we got another question here. So, what's been your approach to modeling data between collections?
Right. First I try to embed it if that's possible. So that means so let's say so I'm working on a course. So it's like a Code Academy. So then user logs in, he need to get all the status of his courses, what are the scores like that. So then I have a chance to embed all the information in a single document because I need that one. So if situation like that, I can embed the document inside then I can get. But so if the documents are going to large, like let's say a blog post and comments, then so we definitely need to go for multiple collections. So then again, reactive joins comes in maybe sometimes, but normally we can work without reactive joins at, at some point. Then yeah, after that we need to go for that.
Yeah. And that's a good point too. Like just because you need to get data doesn't mean it needs to be reactive. So when I look back at Fantasy Hub, we did a thing. We have a couple publications that join like a ton of data, and one of them is like you have to fetch the fundraiser, and then you have to fetch the users in the fundraiser, and then you need to fetch like all the players that could possibly be selected for a draft. So it's fantasy sports, and you know perhaps the fundraiser and the users might need to be reactive, but the players in a draft don't have to be reactive because you're always going to have the same set of players. It's not like they're bringing new players into the game, the football game or something, week to week. It changes a little bit, but in the probably 20 minutes they're going to have the window open, there's not going to be a change. And if there is a change, like they're probably going to hear about it, or you can write something to email them and say like, hey, your player you selected just got injured or something. So like it's not always the case that you need 100% reactivity for every query that you do. So it's probably good to think about that up front, the use case and how that works and that kind of thing.
Yeah. Yeah. And another thing is, if we're trying to model our database exactly as the SQL, so then only we need to go for the reactive joins. So we can little bit think about other solutions as well, other possible ways to do things.
Yeah. All right. Good question. Hopefully we'll get some more here in a second. So with 1.0 coming out, I'll just ask you, like, what's the most frustrating thing that you've had to deal with so far with Meteor?
How to answer that? There are a couple of things. I think recently the problem is the code reload time. It's because now it's really very hard to do, like working with that. So there's a lot of time when we are trying to edit something file, then it takes a lot of time to reload the page. And for the problems, there are some, yeah. I think maybe we can have some kind of more database level optimization. I think it would be really good because now it's really hard to insert a lot of documents in Meteor. So I think I wish if there is more performance tuning like that, maybe.
Yeah. So are you talking about like oplog and inserting too many documents into the database?
Not oplog. I mean, so one thing is, so when you are having so normally, so if you insert a lot of documents to the MongoDB, with the oplog, it will normally come to the MongoDB. So, sorry, to the Meteor application. There could be ways to prevent that. At the same time, so when we are inserting a lot of document from the Meteor to the Mongo, so there's some kind of overhead is happening. So I really can't say it's a problem of Meteor because how real time works with Meteor, because MongoDB is not a real time database, so they need to do some things. So I wish there are a couple of bugs here. before 1.0. So still 1.0 is coming. It's really nice to have that one.
Yeah. All right. So
I think we have a transaction package.
yes, I see that. I'm pulling it up right now. We'll let's
I
see.
think it's from Brent.
Undo redo stack based on transactions. So it looks like it gives you exposes an object called TX, which has all the methods you need to get an undo redo stack going. Um, yeah, and so you can say tx.insert and tell it you want it to be on the posts uh, namespace, and then give it the info that you want it to insert, or same thing with update, and you essentially kind of get a rollback. So it looks like you can probably pass. It looks like you're passing an object into it, and so I wonder if there's something. Oh, okay. So there's like an undo and a redo. Oh, and a start and a commit. Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, so you just say tx.start and give it like an ID or a handle or a name or something, and then run your tx queries, and then at the end you just say tx.commit. It's pretty slick. So it's just called transactions on Atmosphere. So Randy, friend, I guess. Thanks for that.
Back on transfer. Yeah. I think here this application is he's using for the stand bench. So I think he's using the transaction package for the application stand bench. I think it's a kind of something related to the course materials. I think he might need some kind of transaction. Then he builds something like so. Is
Yeah.
there any way? Is there a way to share the links in the chat? Do you know any place?
I think we just if we put it on the maybe the Google Plus page. Yeah, I really wish we
Okay.
had the other way. So I'll just paste it in there. All right. Here we go. Got some new ones from Stefan. Do you think TAP I18N will go the same route as Iron Router and become the de facto solution for everything localization related? Do you use TAP I18N?
No, I haven't used much localization stuff. I use a simple package called Simple I18 or something similar. I haven't used Tap I18 yet.
Yeah, I haven't either. So I've actually, having created accounts entry, there's accounts T9N now, and the problem is the core team didn't do a great job of exposing clean errors, and they just expose English error messages when something bad happens in login and that kind of stuff. And whoa, so what someone did is wrapped up all those error messages and provided a translation interface. And I don't think it uses TAP I18N. I think it's doing something else to handle the translations. But then there's a bunch of translation files. So I don't know. Like this is perhaps less of a need. Like routing itself is a core need, whereas I'm not sure. Internationalization is still a big need, but I'm not sure necessarily a core need. My thinking on anything is that it'll become a de facto solution the better they do it at documentation and the better they do at keeping clean releases and that kind of stuff like that. That's going to keep driving people back to it. And so, yeah, I guess there's that. And then that starts to segue into a second question, which is me that core components such as routing, are not part of the core team. I'm worried what happens if Chris falls in love with Polymer. Where would that leave the state of the router? And I tend to agree with this. Yes, this has me worried to some degree, maybe less worried. I actually feel bad for Chris Mather and to some degree Tom Coleman as well, both trying to run this large project that's pretty much in, I'd bet, 90% of the Meteor apps. And my concern is how much time of his is it taking up to run this open source project. And as someone who's trying to run a business, that's got to be really, really tough to kind of balance the two on a project so large. I'm sure you understand too,
Yeah.
Arunoda, like running several open source packages and also having kind of a commercial venture that you're trying to get off the ground.
It's kind of like that because sometimes that packages help us a little bit because we can get the traction like that, but still lot of work to do because when the bugs comes, so we need to fix that because there are plenty of people using the package, then we need to make a fix. And yeah, that's something we need to do. It's a lot of work. And
Yeah,
I
and the other problem I think that's tough is that even if someone provides you with a fix and a solution, that doesn't mean they're using like every piece of Iron Router, and their fix may break something else. And so, like if Iron Router doesn't have a great test suite and you don't, hand test all the different features, you may be accepting liability from a pull request into your package, and that's always tough as well. So.
Yeah, accepting a pull request is a really tough job because you need to go through everything.
Yeah.
Even the unit test works, so still there could be issues. So you need to be a little more cautious about those.
Yeah, yeah. So even if yeah, that's a good point. Even if you have unit tests, that doesn't mean you have like great coverage or that one corner case. Maybe even with 100% coverage, like there's still probably the ability for a corner case to slip in and you end up shipping a bug and didn't even know it. I know like I've been holding off on releasing accounts entry because I haven't had time to sit down and test and prove that everything that I've accepted is working. And so like there's code just sitting out there in master that hasn't been published to Atmosphere. So
But still, pull requests, pull requests are really good because that really helps us because without pull request, so there won't be GitHub and the community and like the pull
yes.
requests are really important, but actually we need to be so careful about that.
Yeah, no, I agree. Like pull requests, definitely like it's probably less time for me to sit down and go through and just test that account century works than it would be to actually track down a bug and fix it in the code. So there's still a huge benefit. I would agree with that. All right, so let's take some of these other questions. Let's see, Mike, he was first. I have a couple years experience as a developer using the LAMP stack. I recently started learning Meteor. Can you recommend best practices or references for someone with little experience to learn Meteor and the technologies behind it, such as Blaze, Depths, etc.? You have any suggestions?
Uh, I think we have something coming up for the production, like for the like scaling performance like. So we'll be having something sooner for that one. But we don't have much content for the Blaze and Depths. I think there will be some content from the Meteor manual. I think they'll be releasing that Meteor manual, I think maybe on the Meteor day. So there will be a lot of content on the so
Yeah.
I think maybe Meteor in action book or something. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
There will be some other places.
Maybe Stefan could chime in. Will the Meteor in Action book help people learn Blaze and Depths, etc.? Since he's listening. The other thing I would suggest is looking at javascriptisexy.com.
Hmm.
There's a great post there that really walks through a ton of Meteor stuff, and it's a 20 to 25 minute read, and it's definitely worth it in my
Yeah.
opinion.
Yes.
And then of course, like Discover Meteor does a great job. I'm sure Meteor in Action will probably highlight some of this stuff as well. There's a guy who's got a book called Pro Meteor. Do you talk about that in your book?
I'm sorry.
Your book? You've got a Pro Meteor
Yeah.
book, don't you?
From Meteor, and the other one, it's more about the Meteor internals. So it's Meteor explained. So we are trying to focus on how actually Meteor works at the internal, and we are trying to release something new. I think maybe after 2 3 weeks from now. So it's basically how to run a production Meteor application.
Nice.
Basically, we are covering the all the stuff like how to do, not about the lesson depths only stuff, like how do you validate stuff, how do you build for the performance, how do you do database designing, schema modeling, and like that basically stuff. So we're trying to go like example based approach. So you have a Git repo, and then you're working on that repo as the close progress, like that.
Nice. And
Yeah.
so, is that the Meteor bullets then?
Yeah, it's so we have renamed that into something else. So it's a bullet thing.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Awesome. And is that going to be free or paid or?
Yeah, there are two versions actually. So there'll be there'll enough content for the free, and there'll be a paid version as well.
Nice. Okay.
Right.
And so it looks like Stefan chimed in here and said, absolutely, Meteor in Action will be super helpful. They're just putting the finishing touches on Chapter 4. I commend them. Writing a book is very hard. You can check out the code samples and already see what you will learn. And he links to, and the questions here, to his GitHub account. It's like YAUH. Is his GitHub username, and it's CHO4-working with data is the link, and you'll see that here in a second if you're watching the video and see the question and the answers popping up maybe. Um, yeah, okay, so we will move on. We've got quite a few questions here to get through now. Wow, they're shifting around on me. Okay, so I think Jordan was first, so we'll take his. Do you know of any largish production Meteor apps with a full test suite running? Does anyone do TDD Meteor development? Do you, Arunoda?
Uh, we write some of the tests for the apps, but not much, like, because yeah, no, actually we do a lot of tests for the packages, but not for the app.
Okay,
I
so are
think
you guys using Leica, or are you guys using something else?
no, we use Leica for the some other projects, but for the Khadira we don't use Leica because we try to do it manually right now.
Oh,
Yes,
okay,
yeah,
interesting. Yeah,
not
so
interesting, but we have to do that.
yeah, I would
We try
say
to, yeah.
this question will be answered very differently, I think, in like a month from now than it is
Yeah,
right now. I think
yes.
velocity, unfortunately, like I sent an email out to people that had purchased my book, but I'll just say it here again, publicly. Uh, with the '09 change, that really kind of screwed the progress that Velocity was making at the time. And basically, when you did Meteor add, Sanjo Jasmine, or Meteor add Mike Mocha, those were sitting out there and would become part of your production bundle, which obviously is not great. I mean, if you're careful, it wasn't horrible, but I mean, no one wants extra code just sitting out there mixed into their production application, and especially code that may, if it picked up and ran tests, that could be bad too, because then it's actually going to be trying to spin up an extra application and run some code, and I don't know, it just seemed weird. And so with 0.9.4 coming out, they added a debug only flag, which seems somewhat misappropriated in the title. um, but basically, it sets your package to be a weak dependency. It doesn't expose anything into the global namespace, and then it doesn't bundle that into production. And so what has happened over the last 2 weeks is you'll notice there's a lot of velocity shim activity, and some other packages have changed as well. And what's happening is we need to pick up those debug only flags and inject all that code into the test environment so that these packages continue to run. And I think like in the next couple of days, everything's going to be kind of functioning together, and so the testing landscape will drastically change, and we'll be back to kind of where we were. And the other exciting thing is too, like the HTML reporter got a complete facelift, so that's going to be pretty awesome as well.
Yeah, I think Oli Evans are working on the project, most of the work, right?
What was that?
So Oli Evans.
Yes, yeah, from London. Yeah, he runs the Meteor meetup in London, and he's I don't know, like he's got a pretty good eye for design, and he brought up a lot of good points that people didn't even think about. Like I guess his dad's red-green colorblind, and so it's like the red and green dot aren't very good because if someone's colorblind, they're not going to know if their tests are passing or failing. They'll just see brown, and so like he's been working on adding a lot more feedback. That's not just color based. So good stuff. All right. So we'll take this other one that was just up there. If/when will we get a standard directory configuration for Meteor? Who would have to drive that to make it happen? So I would say, like, as a guy who's blogged about this, I don't think we'll ever see a standard come out. I think we've already seen anything that's close to a standard. There's things that are documented. There's a couple paragraphs at the top of the Meteor docs that are pretty good, and they talk about how they treat certain folders. And other than that, I don't think we're going to see a whole lot more. And so, my biggest thing that I always say is document how you've configured things, like write an actual README and say, here's how the app is structured and here's how you should kind of follow it, and just have some simple rules and try to make the rules easy enough that people don't have to think too hard on how to find a JavaScript file or HTML template or something like that. My thoughts.
And in the next Meteor version, I think 1.1 or something similar, so there will be a special file called control file. So then we can ask Meteor to load our own file loading structure. So we can configure how the files are going to load it first. So this file loads first, like that. Right now, if we need to load some file, we need to prefix them with 0, 1, like that. So it's with the alphabetical order. So with the control file, we can change the order as we need. So I'm not exactly sure how that's going to work, but there'll be a project. There'll be some way to do that.
Yeah, and so I always heard that was going to be part of 1.0, but I guess time-wise, or funding-wise, perhaps.
Maybe.
But yeah, so and again, like I would say, refer back to the docs and read through those couple paragraphs because they talk about special instances. Lib automatically gets loaded first, and then even within lib, everything's alphabetical. So like Arunoda mentioned, you can, put a 0 or a 1 or a 2 in front of everything, and those will get bumped to the top. And so you can get actually kind of fine-grained within there if you need to, if you have load ordering issues. But it's very rare that I've had to go that deep with that stuff. Usually throwing in the libs just okay enough. All right. Have you used the mean stack at all, Arunoda?
Yeah, I think before Meteor, I work with Node most of the time.
Okay, so do you have any advice for developers coming from the mean stack?
Yeah. I haven't used Angular, but I think the basic way how mean works is you're having the Ajax-based communication between the server and the client. So normally exposing REST APIs. So when it comes to Meteor, things gonna be changed because now we are talking about methods and publications. So then you need to think like that. So first you need to learn about how method and publication works. So then model your application based on that. So I think you need to forget some things that you learn from the mean stack when you're coming into Meteor. I think this Meteor book and other books are kind going through this cycle how you can train your mindset around building Meteor specific applications. So that's the first thing to do. Try to think your application based on the subscriptions and the methods like that.
Awesome. Yeah, I would say like the pub sub is definitely the heart and soul of Meteor, and that's definitely where you're gonna, I think, have problems first when you have them, and performance issues and that kind of stuff like that, or security leaks or any of that stuff. Like, definitely think about the pub sub. All right. Keep them coming, guys. We've got 20 viewers, it looks like. That's good. So we'll take this other one because I think the first one was kind of big. How do you aggregate users' emails and send email campaigns or news to them? What packages and services do you use for that, and why? Do you automate the newsletter to some degree, or are you just using MailChimp and handling that somehow?
Actually, I use a package called customer.no. Actually, it's a service called customer.io. So it's simply like Mixpanel. We can send events from the our application to their server, and then using customer.io, we can segment email group. We can do a lot of stuff, and then send emails. So right now I'm not doing anything in the Meteor land. So I'm trying to export events to the some other service customer.io. Then so I can manage my emails from there.
Yeah, that's interesting. I just spent last night kind of doing the same thing. So when you go to meteor.js.club/learn and you fill out that little form at the bottom to say you want to join the class, that actually posts to class.meteor.js.club, and I'm using Iron Router to pick up the server side route there and take that post and then insert that email into the database. And then I'm using Mandrill, and I've got a Meteor method that I call with an ID, and it'll insert their name and their email address and that kind of stuff and package it up, and then it uses Mandrill to shoot that email out. So I wouldn't say I'm aggregating necessarily, but I'm definitely like sending email to, I guess, one user at a time. But like I went through this morning once I got it all done, and I clicked email 16 times and shot it off to all those people. So there's that. The other way that I've seen it work is the same way that, or I guess the way that Telescope does it. Sasha uses a package for MailChimp, and when you say subscribe, he actually just shoots your email off to MailChimp. And then the second part of that package is every night there's an automated cron task that runs that generates an email for you and inserts it as a campaign into MailChimp. And let's say it's 8 o'clock at night. If that's when it kicks off, then he sets the send time to be now plus 1 hour. So it would send at 9 o'clock at night. And so you can get in there and tweak it if you wanted to. But he's just generating HTML and then inserting that into MailChimp. And so that's another good approach to kind of aggregating and sending campaigns to people as well. All right. What? Seriously?
I tried, but the docs is not 0.9. We cannot update. Maybe
All right, so I'm gonna select this question, and we'll just say it here. Someone's saying Meteor 1.0 seems to be out. That's gonna flip my lid. I think they did that on purpose because I called tomorrow, or I guess Thursday, as the day they would come out. I think they came out early just because of me. Just kidding, just kidding. Yeah, I don't see anything. I wonder where they're seeing that at.
Doxy is still on 094.
Yeah,
I try to
probably like right in the middle of releasing things, I bet.
maybe. I think
Uh,
Simon can answer the how he got the news.
yeah, maybe Simon can chime in here how he saw it. Oh, someone said they've tagged the release. I see it.
Ah, okay.
Um, so we'll select that.
Right. Okay.
So this app, let me kill this app. Meteor update. Let me just run that, and we'll see what version we get back on this class manager I was working on last night. That's gonna be funny if it got released right now.
Yeah. It's there. Meteor 1.0. Yeah. 1 hour, but yeah. Just
But it's not fully released because when I run Meteor Update, it says this project is already at Meteor 094. So my guess is we'll probably see, like Meteor Update's going to start working in an hour or so. Uh,
yeah.
that'd be my
I
guess.
think you just create a tag, and maybe there are some other stuff to do.
Yeah, yeah. My guess is this is always a pretty manual process for them, or maybe it's automated, but it takes a while.
Yeah.
Kick off each phase of it. Who knows? Um, yeah. So just get through all these people talking about 1.0 being out. There's a link to the tag if you want to see it. All right. All right. So, where do you see the biggest challenges for 1.0?
You
I would,
mean
I
yeah.
guess my response to that would be like the biggest challenge to people outside of the media community. I think is going to be the fact that it's all Mongo, like is the officially supported database right now. That seems to be the uh, number one thing that I'm hearing from people. Like, when is it going to support more databases? When are we going to get more than just Mongo? Um, that's the biggest thing for me.
Yeah. So he asked me what's the biggest challenge for 1.0 after 1.0. Oh, okay.
Yeah, I
Okay.
guess they're one and the same, right? Like after 1.0, I mean, it's going to be a while before we see 1.1 would be my guess.
So it's mainly for the outside of the media community because there are a lot of people waiting for to come to media. So because it's not 1.0, so there'll be a lot of people coming to the media. Then there'll be more requests, and I think the community will be much bigger after a few months from now. So there'll be a lot of things happening.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I mean, I've been seeing month over month, I've been seeing 10 to 20% growth on Creator, and so that tells me that the community is probably growing as well. So my thought is that just people starting to deal with new issues or running into new edge cases or corner cases, whatever you want to call them. They're going to be hitting bugs because they're going to be thinking of new ways to use Meteor, and we'll probably be working through that for the next couple months. Just trying to figure out how to get through production and scaling and that kind of stuff as they build apps.
And another thing is we need to address the this kind of question. How do we compare Meteor with Rails, Django, and mean stack? So what are the performance differences? So I think we need to be ready answering those questions. Maybe answer something.
Yeah, I would agree. And maybe a little nicer than my Meteor killing Rails blog post. All right. So we'll take Will's question. It's been hanging out for a while. And we'll get to Ben Gott's question. Since I didn't say his name on the podcast, we'll say it here. I am trying to reconcile Meteor's whole application data management approach, DDP, etc., with data store neutral backends such as Strong Loop. Your thoughts on the trade-offs here would be appreciated. Thanks. I haven't used Strong Loop. I'm assuming that we can just insert compatible backend here, maybe something like Firebase as well. Have you used Strong Loop?
No,
Okay.
but I think he's kind of saying about some kind of ORM layer, like something like that, right?
Perhaps, yeah.
So I think yeah, there will be some use case for that one as well, because of ORM layer. But media team is not interested about ORM because they are looking about like having a similar kind of data store on the backend as a front end as well. So yeah, that's something useful. But still, I think if we have some kind of ORM stuff like thing, there will be a lot of use cases for that as well. There are some common kind of application that can be built on top of the ORM. But still, it's a yes or no question. It's really hard to answer.
Yeah. Yeah, perhaps more specific question, something you're looking at or thinking about might help here. But my thought is obviously like anytime you're going to look outside of Meteor Core, like you're probably going to have a little tougher time because things aren't going to be documented. You're not going to have uh, you know, thousands of people kind of doing a similar thing as you. So I guess that's always a trade-off as well. The other interesting thing is DDP is its own standard. So I know people have created like Ruby DDP client server libraries, and same thing like obviously there's a Node one. I'm pretty sure there's a Python one. I know there's Objective-C client, so you can subscribe to data. That's interesting as well. So I don't know. Like if you want to give us a more specific question, we can probably try to answer that. All right. So I got Ben's name right. That's awesome. But I will say it looked pretty easy. um, any suggestions? This is from Ben. Any suggestions for creating games or other apps with real-time-ish user interaction? Issues that come up are time synchronization between servers and clients, latency, etc. Is DDP well suited for this, or would it be better to use UDP somehow? Yeah, I have never made a game, and I have never really tried to use UDP like down that low. So
Yeah,
that's going to be hard for me to answer.
I think he's thinking like not a web application, something like a mobile app or something like, because it's really hard to have UDP kind of transport layer for the browser, right? We don't have some APIs, I think. I don't think we have APIs for the UDP.
Yeah, like the browser is inherently using HTTP and
And TCP.
TCP. So I would imagine like
But yeah,
go
but
test it and you tell us.
and one thing is, if you need more real-time data activities, so it's really good to have use something like database like Redis, and there's an experimental Redis package as well for the Meteor. So Mongo is not a good solution if you're looking for the more real-time interactions.
Yeah, I would say Redis. Is that the one you just mentioned, Redis?
Yeah, Redis.
Yeah, I would say definitely look at Redis, especially, I mean, depending on the size of your game. Like if you just have two users in there, then you can just kind of create a key and just start, tossing real-time data on there. And I don't know, doesn't Redis has like its own kind of pub sub interface, doesn't it?
Yes, it
Yeah.
has. Now,
So
and there's a package as well. I think Slava is working on a package like Redis DDP or something like so. We have Redis supports for the DDP. You
mm,
can yeah. I think there's a package.
yeah,
I
all
haven't,
right.
I haven't used that one, but there's a package for that.
There you go. Redis DDP.
Yeah,
Awesome.
I think it's for the MDG. I think Slava and the Dustin work on that.
Yeah.
I think you need to put Redis Meteor DDP,
Yeah. Redis live data.
Redis Live data.
Yeah. Okay. Awesome. So we'll consider that answered, but you should come back and tell us more when you figure it out. Uh, let's see.
Okay, Meteor
So
update.
someone, yeah, someone said just run Meteor update dash dash release 1.0, and that should get you the 1.0. Looks like two people said that. There was another question from Simon. If he wants to rephrase that a little better, we might be able to get to it. And then we've got one more here from Zafar. Hopefully I'm saying that right again. Where do you see Meteor after 2 years from now? I see it being huge, just huge. Like everyone's using it. Where do you see it 2 years from now?
Yeah, I think everyone is using that one, and it's not only be a JavaScript platform. Meteor will be a common platform. Like every language has its own Meteor-related component. So I think it will be huge. It's like something like .NET Stack. So you can write applications using Java, so C Sharp and a couple of other stuff. And I think Galaxy will be the glue piece together. How we how we can do things like different kind of applications. So then if we have a large team, so one part of the application can be created using JavaScript, and then some other part can be created using Java, maybe C++, like that. I think there will be this kind of a interaction. So that will be Meteor from 2 years from now. I think that's the future.
Yeah, and I would like to see better deferred handling too, right? Like, so if I say, maybe I can say Meteor method and have that route to a different server, maybe a server running Go, and it's going to handle that request and then properly come back and say, like, here are the
Yeah,
results, or,
yeah,
something along those lines. But I totally agree. Jeff gave a talk
yes,
back in May, and he talked about the fact that, as DDP becomes a more accepted standard, then it becomes easier and easier to implement other backends besides Node, Go or Erlang or any of these other like highly scalable solutions would be easy to drop in and replace on the back end and, go from there. That's going to be very interesting. All right. And so, oh, okay. So, Simon was asking which platforms would you prefer the community to try and unite at? And he was saying IRC, Gitter, GitHub, some forum community, Meteor community, or whatever. So my thought here is like, I don't want to see anyone unite anywhere. Like, Kadira Hub is kind of doing its thing and helping people answer questions and figure out ways to build code, and Crater is the place you go when you want news, and it's powering. Um, Sorry, I was looking at another question. It powers a Twitter account and a Google Plus account and all those kinds of things. You know, I don't think there needs to be any one spot that people go for certain types or for all types of information. I think each spot is good at certain types of information, and we probably shouldn't try to shoehorn everything into one spot. Like that's going to be a lot of noise for things that you may not necessarily care about, and it's going to be hard to create um, a good way to aggregate and filter down to what you care about necessarily. So, I mean, it's kind of like Twitter and the fire hose. You would never really want to drink from the fire hose at Twitter, but you do care about certain updates coming out of it. And so I think it would be hard to rebuild something like Twitter specifically for Meteor itself. So don't unite anywhere would be my thought here. What about
Yeah.
you, Nada?
I also think things like that because so media talk is something else because it used to communicate with the problems in the core, like user problems. Media core is related to the core discussions.
Mm-hmm.
I think right about the news, like there have to be some code related discussions. So yeah, kind of things. We need to have different kind of places for different things. Try to unify those things at right now. I don't think it's a good thing for them right now.
All right.
Right, chicken.meteor.com.
So Ben posted his simple game app. It's chicken.meteor.com. I'll get on here. Rolando. List. Not sure how to start playing. All right. Well, I think that that's our hour. That's our time. I would say, where can people find you if they want to follow you and learn more if they don't already follow you, Arunoda?
Yeah, I think the best place is to go for the Meteor Hacks website, meteorhacks.com, and then you can follow me at Twitter, at Arunoda, Arunoda. So that's the two places you can go, and also you can follow us at Meteor Hacks Twitter account as well.
Yeah, awesome. And so for me, looks like we found a bug in his game. For me, you can follow me if you want to keep up to date. You just go to meteor.js.club. You can toss your email address in there, and you'll hear about my blog posts and anything else that I'm working on. I try to send something out weekly, except for last week. I was crazy busy flying, giving talks in Raleigh. You can also find me on twitter.com/Josh Owens. And yeah, and then next month, I haven't nailed down the time and date, but it looks like Chris Mather will be on here, and so we'll try to get Crowdcast working again. Hopefully, be a little better. Yeah, so tune in next month, and hopefully we'll have another awesome discussion. Thanks, Arunoda.
Thanks. Okay, bye.